Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to this Cabinet meeting and quickly go over some general housekeeping. The meeting is being held in person at County Hall and it should be streamed live on the YouTube channel, but we have some IT issues, so a recording will be made available to view, to watch or listen to afterwards. We're not expecting a fire alarm test during the meeting, but if the alarms do sound, please evacuate County Hall and make your way to the nearest exit and meet at the muster point located on the main car park. For those using microphones, please make sure it's switched on and speak towards it. This will tell the cameras to focus on you if they're working and ensure you can be heard on the live stream. And when you've finished, please put the button off to turn off your microphone, as it allows the system to pick up the next speaker. So, item 1 is apologies for absence, please.
There are no apologies today.
We have a full house, that's great. So item 2 is minutes, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on Monday the 4th of August. These start on page 5 of your agenda. Can I ask Cabinet to confirm that they agree they're a true record?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Do any Cabinet members have any interest they wish to declare? Nope, nobody is indicating. So item 4 is matters referred to Cabinet from select committees or by full council, and I don't have any on the agenda this morning. So item 5 is updates from the Chair and Cabinet members, and I would just like to start off with an update. I wanted to mention the loss of 550 jobs at Lotus that we've heard about in the last few days, and how very disappointing that is, especially as we were assured that this wasn't going to happen, having heard rumours of it previously. I think we have to face the reality that changes that have been made by this government to national insurance rates have put extra pressure on companies, and I don't understand why they don't realise that if you make it more expensive to employ people, then the result is going to be fewer jobs. It's a fact of life. We are approaching a potential for devolution in Norfolk and Suffolk, and that's an opportunity for us to have much greater economic development and bring jobs and prosperity to the two counties. But if we're having one hand tied behind our back with increased pressure and costs on businesses, then that's actually going to reduce what we're able to do under devolution. I know that we have a local MP who's blamed all of this on the tariffs imposed by President Trump, but I thought our Prime Minister was trying to negotiate a deal. Obviously, the special relationship that he thought he had isn't as special as he'd hoped. But practically, what can we do as a council? Well, we are, in conjunction with South Norfolk Council, putting together some support for anyone who is affected by the job losses at Lotus, and we don't know who those people will be yet. That's a process that's still being worked through. But we recognise that people who work for engineering companies such as Lotus are usually highly skilled, and we do not want to lose people with those skills, that labour force, in our county. So we will do what we can to support those people and try and ensure that those jobs and those people are able to carry on and work for the good of the people of Norfolk. So that's us offering our support to those people and expressing our disappointment. Is there any other updates from Cabinet members, please? Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Leader. Cabinet colleagues, you will see that we have received another question on the subject of the former Angel Road School here in Norwich. I appreciate that those living locally may want to know what will happen to the site and the building. However, I must stress Norfolk County Council are still waiting for the return of the site from the Trust. You will see in my response that we have carried out a feasibility study to look at the possibility of opening a special school on this site in the hope that we could press on quickly if that was viable. However, the age, current condition and location of the building mean that officers have rightly concluded it just isn't suitable without very significant investment, and the costs associated with enabling the site for this use would not be good value for money. My priority has always been to ensure that all children with SEND in Norfolk get access to the very best education, which is why we continue to invest in our SEND transformation programme and why we are providing more support to mainstream schools to help children to stay in their local schools with their peers. And for those who know me personally, know full well that has been my wish since 2017. I am of the firm opinion that to keep these children who require additional assistance with their schooling, that they stay within their communities, recognising that in some cases they may have to travel to a highly specialist provision. So this is not a new concept. For the past 5 years, with £125 million from the Council, we have developed more than 600 new places in special schools and developed more than 300 new places at specialist resource centres in mainstream schools and built 3 specialist schools. We really do need the 2 new schools in Great Yarmouth and Downham Market, and our Director and Senior Officers continue to press the Department of Education to release the funding that was previously agreed with schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to remind people that obviously going into the winter, as we unfortunately will be shortly, that people will need to get their COVID and flu jabs. It's really important, really. And particularly people over 65, there's a shingles vaccination too. So if you're over 65 or severely weakened immune system, I would ask you to get your vaccinations when you're contacted by the GP. Also as well for children, as you know, across the country, not here in Norfolk, but we have had outbreaks of measles. That's due to low levels of vaccinations with measles, and also soon to have the chickenpox vaccine as well. So it's great. Vaccines do save lives. Well, you may have seen to the contrary on social media, particularly in America perhaps, but they do save lives. Probably the biggest invention of man to save lives. So if it's for yourself, your children or your grandchildren, please have a vaccination. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very, very valuable, I think, to remind people of that at this time of year, especially as we've seen some headlines about children who have unfortunately died as a result of not being vaccinated. So it's important to remind parents to please vaccinate their children. It doesn't just protect their child, it protects all children as well from these diseases spreading. Anybody else got any updates? I can't see anybody indicating, so we'll move on then. We're going to go on to item 6, which is public question time. The list of public questions and responses has been circulated and published on the website, but I see that we have a member of the public, Peter Silburn, in the gallery with us, and I'm assuming you'd like to ask a supplementary question, Mr. Silburn, so over to you.
Thank you. In 2023, 7 people were killed cycling on Norfolk's roads. 3 of those were in Norwich. Active travel schemes such as the Dereham Road Larkman Lane scheme are therefore vital in making the roads safer for people to get about by bike. How will Norfolk County Council achieve its goal of having 50% of the journeys in towns and cities by walking, wheeling and cycling by 2030 if, even when scarce funding becomes available for active travel, the Cabinet Member for Highways, Infrastructure and Transport unilaterally decides to remove all the cycling component from that scheme?
Thank you. Councillor?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question as well. Firstly, the scheme itself didn't have enough funding, so the funding for the scheme is to take it as far as it is. It hasn't been taken out of a funding being completed. We're just waiting for the multi-year settlement to come in so that we can actually plan forward with more of these walking, wheeling and cycling. It is down as part of our strategies going forward to make sure that we do this, but we rely on money from central government for this. We don't use money from county council because we simply haven't got it. So what we do with all these schemes, we wait for a grant application, we apply for the grant, and we put on the ground as much as we can within the limits of the grant and the timing of that grant as well, because very often the grants are time limited. So from that point of view, in order to complete the walking, wheeling and cycling that we are looking at, we do need this multi-year settlement, and we're awaiting that as we speak. So it hasn't been stopped altogether, but it doesn't fit within the financial package that we have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you'll appreciate that we really want to complete all of these schemes, but sometimes, as Councillor Plant has said, the money doesn't come from central government in a timely manner, but we will certainly keep it in the programme. It's certainly not been cancelled. Okay. So there's no other members of the public who are eligible to ask a supplementary question with us. So we'll move on to item 7, which is local member questions. The list of local member questions and responses has been circulated and published on the website. And I see that we've got Councillor Maxine Webb with us, who is eligible to ask a supplementary question. So over to you, Councillor Webb.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer to my question. I just want to pick up on what the answer you've just given to Peter here, because when these plans were originally put together, there was funding because the cycling improvements were in the plans, and I don't know how come the money now is gone. Whether that's because it took so long, because this project was supposed to have been implemented over a year ago. I'm pretty sure all the conversations that I had with officers, it was going to be last year. So whether it's because it's taken so long, but there certainly was funding available at the time because they were in the plans and costed within those. So I'm confused about that. So perhaps you can clarify that. But the erasure of all the cycling elements here is the exact opposite of what we say in our own strategies, in our local cycling and walking infrastructure plan and the Transport for Norwich plan. And it makes a mockery of all those stated ambitions. A cyclist from my division sadly died in a traffic accident 2 years ago, and this investigation is still ongoing. And how can his family and other cyclists in my division and across Norwich generally have any confidence that this council is trying to make the road safer for them when it rips out planned cycling improvements during major schemes at a junction like this one, which is known to be dangerous for cyclists?
Thank you, Councillor Webb.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. And it is specifically about rising costs. I think you'll agree that over the last 2 years we've seen a huge rise in the cost of everything that we do across the council, but specifically around highways. Most of the schemes that we have going on at the moment are all out of the original quote that was given. They're all costing a lot more. And the rising costs and the limited availability of funding, because at the end of the day they have to fit within a funding package that the government are giving us. They also have to be signed off by Active Travel England, and Active Travel England are adding to the requirements that are needed to put these cycling and walking and wheeling schemes in. So we're taking monies that might have been in other schemes and trying to finish off schemes that we've already started to try and meet the financial packet that we're given by government. But there are requirements from Active Travel England as well. And just as an example, there's a particular scheme that was costed at £800,000, and now because of Active Travel England requiring movement of a pavement by 800 millimetres, 1200 millimetres, means that there's an extra £1 million added to that scheme, because when you move a pavement, you also move all the drains underneath, and maybe there may be some utilities under there as well. So it's not as simple as just moving a pavement back. There's a huge amount of work in making sure that it meets the highway standards and making sure that we also finish off within the financial package that we actually have. And those financial packages may start off high, or maybe think we can get a scheme in. But when the additional costs come in and the additional elements from Active Travel England come in, those schemes ramp up the costs. So I do apologise for that. I know that we put it in an original plan. It's still in the strategy to be done. But like I said, we're looking forward to this multi-year settlement where we can actually plan forward and know that we're getting the money to finish these schemes, rather than a lump of money that we have 2 years to develop a scheme and put it on the ground, and then to find halfway through there's a different demand on that scheme as well, so it's going to cost a lot more than what we originally intended. But we are working our way through the schemes, and we're confident that once the multi-year settlement comes in, we can start finishing off a lot of these schemes. And you mentioned the safety aspect. The safety aspect reaches right across Norfolk, not just on one particular element like this. It reaches right across Norfolk, and we're working hard to try and put schemes in that are making it safer for people on cycles, wheeling and walking right across Norfolk.
Thank you. As you can see, Councillor Webb, it's not that we lack ambition, and we're very proud of the achievements we've already made, and we have many new cycling schemes in Norwich and across Norfolk, which we have already implemented. We're committed to improving wheeling, walking and cycling in our county, and as Councillor Plant has said, we will do what we can with the money that we're given, and we'll implement it as soon as we can. Right, so we'll move on then. We'll move on to item 8, which starts on page 23 of your agenda, and that's South Wootton Independent Living. I'm going to hand over to Councillor Alison Thomas to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to be here, somewhat as a broken record, but I make no apology for that. Bringing yet another scheme for independent living to Cabinet to be approved to progress through to construction. This is the 6th scheme. I should have put my teeth in this morning, sorry. 6th scheme. We've already got Fakenham and Acle, which are open. We have Stalham, Harleston and Hunstanton in progress, and I'm very pleased to say today that tomorrow, actually, Councillor Jameson and I will be donning our steel toe-cap boots and scaling the roof of the Hunstanton scheme in Lavender View to do the topping out ceremony. And I think that's probably a real example of the value of these projects. That project isn't completed yet, it's getting near to completion, but we already have 75 people who've expressed an interest in moving into what are 61 properties. So we are already oversubscribed. The whole purpose of this strategy and the capital funding that was set aside by Cabinet for this purpose is to maintain people's independence, allow people to live an independent life, but with the security and comfort of knowing that they've got help and support and care as and when they need it. Certainly I can say from my own perspective, having spent most of this summer in Wales caring for my very elderly father, this cannot be underestimated. He's fiercely independent. He doesn't want help and assistance, but he clearly needs it. And this enables people who are in that position to move into a new facility that's got all whistles and bells. You've got pull cords that give you 24/7 emergency cover should you need it, and is absolutely outstanding. So what we're being asked to do is to approve a capital sum of £3,157,000 with a capital investment to support Housing 21, with the development and producing nomination rights for 77 apartments in South Wootton. Once this is open, not only does it deliver a better outcome for Norfolk residents, but it also delivers an annual saving of just shy of £750,000. That's because people going into independent living are costing us less than people who go into full-time residential accommodation, perhaps before they really need to and before they choose to. We will be identifying the new tenants for this project 6 months before completion to make sure that we have a timely uptake, and I think probably Hunstanton is a good demonstration of that. There's also a financial contribution from Homes England, and if you wish to read the details of the borrowing and information is on item 6.6 of the Cabinet agenda. But I wholeheartedly recommend this scheme to my fellow Cabinet members. I think it shows and demonstrates that this council is focusing on the needs of our residents and using its money wisely. And when funds are borrowed and used for this purpose, then it is absolutely an invest to save. I know a lot of people talk about the level of borrowing that the County Council has. I make no apology for borrowing of this sort that produces such a positive outcome, and I very much hope that my Cabinet members will support me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bensley.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just want to thank my colleague, Councillor Thomas, for this. But can I just have confirmation this is similar to the site in Acle with a nod of the head? Yeah, thank you. So I got confirmation of that. And can I just recommend to Cabinet and the Council that the Butterfly Bistro and the Swallowtail place in Acle is absolutely amazing. I don't really know what the opposite to a youth club is, but this place, if there is a word, this is exceptional. And it's not about the financial side of it for me. It's more about the human interaction cost, where the money doesn't really imply. You have a community spirit there, and you have a what should I say? You have a venue. You have a place where people go from the outside to interact with people who might not necessarily see strangers or other people, to have a yarn like us Norfolk people do. We like a mardle, but to have that as an asset for us and to put more of these out, I just wish we could develop them more often for all our communities. And I know this Cabinet, we are trying to do that, but this is an amazing scheme. I highly recommend people to visit the one in Acle because it is amazing, and I can't welcome it enough. So thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Thomas.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark.
Thank you, Chairman. I too, I've visited Acle many times actually, and also Fakenham actually when it was being constructed. Swallowtail Place is a real community, as you say. It really is a community place, for not only for people to live there, but as you say, for the whole of Acle. People from Acle go into the Swallowtail Place and they say they have a piece of cake and a coffee and whatever. But I've actually been into the rooms as well. And the rooms, I mean, I was actually talking to Councillor Thomas before this meeting. And I was saying, you know, my test is, would I be happy to live there? And yes, I would, because there is a real feeling of space within the building. You know, you can grow old there, and you can grow old there, dare I say, gracefully if you wish. Yeah, but I really think it's a great place, and I thoroughly recommend even more, as I will be across the county, and I hope in Rackheath too, in due course. There's plans there too. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jamieson.
Thanks very much, Chair. Well, I have no hesitation in heartily commending the Cabinet member for bringing this forward, and I look forward very much indeed to joining her in one of the other West Norfolk independent living programmes in Hunstanton tomorrow. I'm rather nervous about getting on the top of the roof, but nonetheless, it is excellent and fully subscribed already. Well, that gives an indication. And I would just like to make the point that of the 6 schemes that we have in place, 3 are in West Norfolk, Hunstanton, Fakenham, of course, and now South Wootton as well, as we continue to develop our independent living programme, which is what residents say they want, rather than residential homes per se. It's what our residents say that they want and need to remain independent and well for longer. This is, from a financial point of view, this is part of a capital programme that we've had in place for some time to develop this initiative, and therefore there is no additional funding cost in relation to that. All just worth bearing in mind, I'm sure, I know you know this, but just for a wider public, to bear in mind that all our programmes like this, all our borrowing is, of course, for capital programmes of this nature. We don't borrow, unlike this government, to keep the lights on. We borrow carefully to develop the assets that the residents of this county need in order to maintain a good, clear standard of living. That's what we do, unlike, as I say, unlike the government, borrowing increasing amounts of money just to keep the lights on from an increasingly sceptical international financial community. So this is well done, it's well organised, it's a well-focused programme, and I commend you for it. Thanks.
Thank you. I can't see anybody else indicating they wish to speak. I've been to ACLE as well, and it was like a 5-star hotel. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And it rather puts me in mind, and I think we may get well oversubscribed. If anybody's been watching the Thursday Murder Club on Netflix, which is a similar sort of independent living scheme, where people seem to be having the time of their lives in their sort of in the later years. So maybe we'll get something like that up and running in this new one in South Wootton. But they are incredibly popular. They are the modern way to help people stay independent for as long as possible. And I believe that we as a county are front runners in providing these new schemes. And this is amazing. We've now got 6 under our belt, and hopefully many more to come, because I can see that they're going to fill up before they're out of the ground, which is great. So the more people who understand what the actual level of care and the quality of these developments, the more people who are going to want to live in them in the future, and it's definitely the way forward. So absolutely fantastic. I'll point you all to the recommendations now, which are on page 24. So we are to approve £3,157,000 of capital contribution from the existing £29 million independent living capital programme to Housing 21 to support the development and secure nomination rights for 77 apartments in a new independent living scheme for older people in South Wootton, in Kings Lynn and West Norfolk. We are to approve in principle a direct care award from the Independent Living and Housing with Care framework to Housing 21 in accordance with Schedule 9 of the framework as a condition of the scheme being brought forward, and on the basis that Housing 21 are a strategic partner and owner of the independent living scheme. And we will delegate the responsibility to the Director of Assurance and Commissioning to complete the relevant contracts with Housing 21. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. That is carried. So we'll move on then to item 9, which is health, safety and wellbeing. This is our end of year report for 2024-25. It comes under my portfolio, and the report starts on page 39. And I'd like to just highlight some things that are in it. I'd like to thank all our staff for their service. Our staff are our greatest asset. We have over 8,000 employees, not all full-time, some part-time, and we are one of the largest employers in Norfolk, and we value their work on behalf of the residents of Norfolk, because without them we couldn't provide the excellent services that we do for some of the most vulnerable in our society. And this report shows that we have a positive health, safety and wellbeing culture here at the Council, and that the standard of management ensures that employees are at work well and productive, and that we have a successful strategic approach to trading and cost recovery. So it's a really good report, makes for excellent reading, and I would like to commend it to you. So the recommendations are on page 43. Does anyone have any comments or questions they wish to make? Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I just wanted to draw, there's a section of the report regarding violent incidences on page 42. The violent incidents remain the most reported incident type, including involuntary harm, verbal abuse, some antisocial behaviour and threatening behaviour, though they have decreased slightly from 45% to 41%. These incidents are most prevalent in schools, social care and libraries, but it's also outside of libraries as well, where staff are subject to abuse. I have to say that these places I would consider to be a safe place to go into and a safe place to work. And no member of staff comes into the workplace should have to face these actions by others within the buildings, and as libraries have reported, as I said before, as outside. These actions by others are abhorrent, and I am very pleased to see that our staff are well supported, but at the end of the day, they shouldn't have to be, and we shouldn't have to be subject to that, as other emergency services personnel also are subject to that. It is a sad indictment of our society that we are looking at this, and we have to report on it, about the violence against our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bensley.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to concur and agree with Councillor Carpenter's words there. The violence and the abuse that our staff get, we cannot solve everything all the time. Sometimes we don't have the power to, but we just give people the information. They may not like it as a response, but that is what it is, unfortunately, and we can only be truthful in them answers. But dealing in public service will always attract strong opinions, and that is a good thing. It means that local people care about their communities, their local communities, as we are sitting here now. We're all local residents of our local communities. But those opinions, but how those opinions, are shared, that makes a real difference. We all welcome debate and challenge, but if you wouldn't say it to your nan over a pint in the local, then maybe don't say it to a councillor or an officer. Respectful discussions helps us all in finding solutions, while abuse only undermines the work that we're all here to do. And as I said, we're all here to do locally. We didn't go to college or university to learn to be a councillor, and I know our officers work extremely hard for our local residents as we do, but we're not here to face abuse. We can understand people's frustrations and emotions. It is very emotional sometimes, but we are here to help, and that's all we intend to do. So having abuse and things like that, please just don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No. Well, I know we've made a lot of investment in our libraries to make them more welcoming community hubs and safe spaces. So it's disappointing when we do see some antisocial behaviour happening, and none of our staff should ever have to face any of that, and none of our councillors should either. And I'm glad this report shows that we are supporting our staff when they do find themselves in difficult situations, and those support mechanisms are there in the background if any of them encounter any issues. And we also have to support our councillors. We know that when there are issues, people just blame it on the council, and sometimes tempers boil over, and people are rightly frustrated. But we're all trying to do a job here, and we all need to pull together. So the key to providing good services is a happy, healthy workforce, and we also need happy, healthy councillors in order to support them. So I'm glad that the report is showing that we are moving in the right direction, but it's absolutely right to highlight that we are doing our best to help people sometimes in very difficult situations, and we will continue to do that because we as councillors feel that that's our duty. That's why we put ourselves forward to be elected, and we thank our staff very much for all they do in their service as well, and in supporting us in our roles. So I'll move you to the recommendations then, which are on page 43. So we've been asked to consider and comment on the performance report, to champion employer member health, safety and wellbeing through demonstrable leadership and advocacy of the guidance and services available, and to endorse and support the ongoing focus to improve health, safety and wellbeing management through executive director and management leadership and delivery of health, safety and wellbeing services. Can I ask for all those in favour to please show?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we'll move on to item 10, which is the Finance Monitoring Report 2025-26, P4. This is at July 2025. Starts on page 81 of your agenda, and I'll hand over to Councillor Jamieson to introduce it, please.
Thank you, Chair. At the close of July, we're continuing to forecast a potential overspend in 2025-26 of £8.683 million. Now, albeit reduced somewhat from June, the 11.25 million that's forecasted in the overspend in children's services has been offset somewhat by underspends in infrastructure and in finance general. Now, demographic and social demand-led pressures remain intense in adults and children's services. Both directorships are undertaking significant transformation programmes, of which select committees will continue to be appraised. Unfortunately, however, the government's delays to send reforms to fairer funding, these are reforms that were initially expected in the spring, but it means that there is little to update the committees on in the short term. A briefing paper will be issued later in the month, and additionally, details of pressures and spending department's approach to dealing with them are covered in that paper. However, I would draw your attention to the additional cost of external residential placements covered in this report, and it continues to overwhelm any savings made via successful preventative work, keeping the number of children in care from rising. In paragraph 210, that's on page 88, adult social care is signalling very clearly that pressures are building within the £319 million purchase of care budget. If you look at Revenue Annex 1, that's on page 95, it points to a current 0.4% overspend here by the year end, which will be ameliorated elsewhere within the department, subject, of course, to having or not having to deal with greater than expected demand pressures. I'd like to commend here the work that's been achieved by Ian Wake since his arrival. Operational accountability is clearly demonstrated by this renewed focus on internally gripping costs and expenditure, and that is outlined in paragraph 211. The underspend in infrastructure of £600,000 is partly due to the increase in curbside collection volumes being lower than budgeted. There's a bit of additional income, which is primarily due to increased fines on utilities from the overrunning repairs, and that has also contributed. Within finance, the forecast is for a net underspend of £2 million. Now, mainly that's due to an underspend on the central pay award budget, with the pay award being agreed at 3.2% compared to a budget provision of 4%. Elsewhere, a shortfall of interest receivable of some £1.8 million has been largely offset by savings on interest payable and on minimum revenue provision. The decision to remove the Norwich Western Link spending from the capital programme reflects the Department for Transport's request that we submit a new bid, as was reported to the July Cabinet. Of course, on the basis that the new bid is successful, the scheme would then be added back. Additionally, the removal of the Southgates roundabout project in Kings Lynn, as increased Department for Transport funding was not available to pursue that scheme, contributes to a further £7.096 million reduction in the capital programme. A £4 million increase to the programme is to provide a budget for any new leases, property and vehicles mainly, or lease amendments that result in an increase in the right to use value and liability to the Council. This has largely been thrown up by changes to accounting practices to comply with the International Financial Reporting Standard 16, of which I have had reason to mention before. Now, finally, in August, Norfolk was allocated a total of £16.4 million basic needs grant by the Department for Education, and there's a separate recommendation for Cabinet to recommend to full Council the uplift for the capital programme in 26-27 and 27-28 to take account of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this report? No, I can't see anyone indicating. Alison. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to echo Councillor Jamieson's comments, most particularly about adult social care. And I too have been very impressed with Ian Wake's grasp and grip of the financial challenges that adult social care faces. I think we all know that the purchase of care budgets are always under huge pressure, and we always want to ensure that we're able to provide care and support to people at a time when they need it. But in order to do that, we have to keep a firm grip on our finances and make sure that we deliver within our means. And the Savings and Efficiency Board, which Ian set up when he first arrived, is designed to not only monitor our progress through this year, which is already highlighting that there are some challenges facing us, and they have already taken action within the department to deliver a balanced position at this moment in time, but it's absolutely right and proper that they have highlighted that those challenges will continue. But also it's about ensuring that the savings that have been programmed for this year are carefully monitored and delivered, because if we have an under-delivery in our savings, then we have an increase in our cost pressures. But we also have to look at our transformation and our future savings that we will have to deliver to put a proposal forward to Cabinet and Council in February of next year to sign off a budget for next year, which will also involve a considerable amount of savings. The transformation in adult social care is underway, but I think, as always, these things can never perhaps happen as quickly as we need them to, because transferring and transforming and turning the tanker around is no mean feat. But I have absolute confidence in Ian and the senior leadership team, and in fact everybody within the Adult Social Care Directorate, that they will put their shoulders to the wheel and we will deliver the transformation that's required, not only to deliver financial balance, but to provide the care and support, as I said earlier, that people need and in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the report? Can't see anyone else indicating. It's a fact, isn't it? We continue to battle to balance our budget in the face of increasing demand and insufficient monies from central government to cover the costs. And we have to find new and innovative ways to provide the quality services that our residents deserve. I often feel that government undervalue us as councils. They expect us to provide these vital services, and we have statutory responsibility for that. But they think that we can just keep finding ways, new ways of making savings while consistently underfunding us. And I think as a rural area where services are far more expensive to deliver, we are often overlooked in that respect. We see funding per head of population in more urban areas is far, far greater than that we get here. And if we had a parity of funding for some of our inner cities, then we wouldn't face some of the problems that we do face. And that's not fair. It's just not fair on the people of Norfolk. But we will continue to do our job, because that's what we're here to do, and we will continue to balance our budget, and we will continue to provide those services to the best of our ability. So I will point you to the recommendations, which are on page 81 and 82. There are 7 of them. I'm not going to read them all out because there's rather a lot. So can I ask Cabinet if you are in agreement with those, please?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on then to item 11, which is report of the Cabinet member and officer delegated decisions made since the last Cabinet meeting. And I don't have any on my agenda. So that just brings us to the end of the meeting. I'll close it now and just say that the next meeting is on Thursday, the 25th of September at 3 p.m, or on the rise of council, whichever is later, because we have full council on that day. So thank you very much for all those who are in attendance.